Alright, let's see what we got here. AW55-51SN. I'll tell you right there on your tag. $12mm here. Go the right direction. I took the bolt out for the filler tube. I don't know why they didn't just take the filler tube too. I don't need it. $17mm. $10mm on the speed sensors. Let's see if we can release this, leave that on there. .40 torques on the fan. I guess I should see what the complaint is. Most all these have valve body issues. Downshifting hard and delayed engagements. This has got a valve body. It's wore out. Now, depending on how long they drove it, is what it tore up. Every single one of these have a worn out valve body. You can buy the reman ones. Buying the reman ones are about as reliable as doing it yourself. You got about a 50-50 shot of it working properly. My recommendation to you is buy a brand new valve body. Alright, on our valve body over here will be a code. Ours is a B. The no code and the A code are the early ones. The no code is earliest. These solenoids are going to be facing, this one's facing the same way, but this one and this one are changed and the bracket's different. And this solenoid over here is facing the other direction. So your wiring harness is different. So if you get a valve body, you're going to get at least a C. You might get a B, but you're probably going to get a C. In any case, if you have a no code or an A code, your harness is going to be different, so you're going to have to get a harness for it also. You can, I don't know if you still can, how much cheaper they are, but used to you could get these from GM and they were significantly cheaper. The only difference you would have is this solenoid right here is different. If you're doing a a Volvo or a Nissan. Saab, Saturns, and GM products all had the other solenoid, so you could just put it on any of those and it'd be okay. If you're going to put it on a Nissan or a Volvo, you're going to have to change that solenoid out. You also need to watch out, and when I get this off I'll show you. Get this connector to let loose. I almost always end up cracking them. Here we go. There we go. Okay. Pull the tins out. The two on the ends here are your shortest ones. You got a bracket that holds down your temp sensor for one of them right there. There's a gasket that goes underneath these. Now underneath, let's see, where is it at? Underneath this one here, you need to pull this plate off also and check the valve that's back here. We'll go ahead and do that. Check this valve right here. If it's got a spring underneath it, you need to make sure the valve body that you got has it also. If it doesn't have it, if this one doesn't have it but the new one does, you need to pull it out. And I'll just leave this off to the side. I'll be taking that apart anyway. I'll do a video on the valve body. If y'all want the valve body breakouts, you're gonna have to join Patreon. I got quite a few of them on there. I don't have one of these yet, but I will now. So if you want to see every valve layout in the valve body, that's where I put those. I'll still give you the check ball locations for rebuilding it if you want to go through the valve body. Personally, I wouldn't. 12 millimeters on the pump and the case. Take that bracket off from the other side in order to get to that last bolt. And they changed sizes on me. 10. There's two studs down here on the bottom. I guess I should make sure that we're getting a good view of all this. flip this up on its end. Different ones are different, so pay attention to how all this stuff comes off. This one's a race right here. This bearing's going to fall out. So I'm going to take this apart in a minute when we get all this out of the way. We got a bearing back here. Sometimes there is a race on here also that's added, so you end up with one. This one has it. That's where it goes right there. I've spent hours trying to figure out where that stupid thing went one time. And the first one I got that I wasn't used to it being there. So there's our ring gear. Let me set this over here so in a minute we can put the other stuff over here. Got a washer. These usually come in the kit on each side. Got a bearing. This drum, we'll set it off to the side and take it out in a minute. Our band. Be careful when you get your bands. Some of these aftermarket ones are not right, and the anchor will be in a different spot, and it will not work. So match your band up. I'm just going to leave it in there for a minute. We'll get it out later. Match your band up really good. Bearing here. Set the drum off to the side. We'll do it in a minute. There's also a race up in here. It usually stays there. I'll just leave it in there for right now. Some bearing here. Our hub. Bearing here. Check our gear, make sure everything's okay, our bushings. Usually the gear train's in really good shape. Check your race and make sure it's not pitted. It's only if they keep driving it that you get a problem and they start welding drums together and stuff like that. So usually the gear train is in really good shape. Check these bushings here. They have a tendency to wear bad. Looks all good. Bearing here. Pull our clutches out. Yeah, this ring gear will come out. Even if your clutches look good, I would go ahead and replace them. These units are really sensitive about clutch clearances, so even if they look good, they may be too thin. So our sprag is turning counterclockwise, locking clockwise. You got the bearing and the race. Check this in the back of the case. It's got a little bit of wear. Some of these get really, really bad. You can send them out and get them repaired. Pull our snap ring out, our return spring, and our piston. Leave the rest of that in there. You don't need to pull that tube out. Pump's gonna come out with the front case half usually. Alright, there are some magnets behind this. You want to take those off, those 10 millimeters off, and clean those magnets off. That's all that's behind there. Take that off, clean them up, put it back on there. Other than that, there's no reason for that to be taken apart. Alright, we'll take our pump apart in a minute. If you have an damn cooler out here, this plate would not be on here. Round socket, 10 millimeters. 10 millimeter on the filter. Pull your diff out. Do look at your splines down in here. You see how rusted they get. You need to put some moly grease in there when you go back together with it to keep them from rusting up like that. Even so, that's not an issue. It's not usually bad. Sprags turning clockwise, locking counterclockwise. All these washers you should get in the kit. I go ahead and mark all my sprags anyway. There's another washer underneath here. And there's a washer on the back side. You can leave that transfer gear in there. There's no point in taking it out. Take our shield out, 10 millimeters. Take our park detent and our bracket out that holds this tube in. Our actuator out, and our pivot pin and our spring. This thing can be a lot of fun getting back together. We'll see when we do the rebuild. This whole setup here is just a nightmare. I don't know what genius come up with this, but This is another one that needs their butt kicked. Let's see if we can get this out of here. Doing this with the camera out of the way. Kind of hard sometimes to get this stuff in the view of the camera. This pivot pin is going to fall out, so go ahead and pull it out. And it goes in just like that. Alright, our bearing. There's a race and a bearing here. This whole assembly will come out now. There is no need to take all this apart. Just roll it around and make sure that pinions are not chipped. And as long as it rolls freely, there's no need to take all that apart. Alright, let's see if we can get our band out of here now. And our band looks really good. You can still see the ink stamps on it, so we're not going to replace the band. When you do get your new band, line this up and make sure that the apply deal is in the same spot. I've seen them way up here, so it'll never ever work right. As long as it's turning free, no need to take that out. Alright, our pump. This is spring loaded, so be careful when you pop this snap ring out. Pressure plate. Clutches still look really good, but they will get replaced. I've done bit by that before. A little dark, but still see the writing on them. Our return spring. Alright, this one here, I don't take it over to the foot press and take it apart. I just put me a rag over the top, and then I just pop the snap ring off. Of course, it's going to show me up this time because it's on camera. Our return spring is the one with the holes in it. Alright, get our piston out. May have to shoot some air to it. Here's the snap ring. Right down in here, usually get a scribe end on it. There's a little opening at the end of it. I had it out. underneath this piston, there's some more bolts to take this off of the pump assembly. So get your piston out. There's actually 2 pistons in here. These are 30 torques. This comes off. If I did get all my bolts out, looks like it. Now, come on now. Plate. Make sure our surface here is okay. Our pump gears, the dots are up, but I always mark my gears no matter what, just in case I screw up. Check the surface here, it looks really good. Our surfaces here, they look good. Alright, this drum here, 2 sets of clutches in it. You gotta have long arms on your press in order to get this, because this shaft's right in the way. That's when that adapter case press comes in handy. Before I had that, I made a deal that would fit over here and take up the slack I needed and cut a slot out so I could get the snap ring. Let me go take the snap rings out. Alright, our snap ring, spring cage, 2 pistons in here. There are 2 pistons. Our drum. This drum apart. Alright, our snap ring, spring cage. Let's see if we can shoot some air to this one. And our piston, our drum. All right, down in here we got an accumulator. There's 230 torques to hold this in. Spring inside. And leave that tube on there, you don't need to take it off. This snap ring has to go in a certain way. The little tab needs to go right here. So I always mark it, and then my opening is over here. Just in case I have a brain fart. And then I just popped the snap ring off of here also. Yeah, usually it works. Let me go take it to the foot press. Alright, our snap ring, spring cage, and then our piston. We will need to shoot some air to that. And I believe it was this one here, maybe this one here. Alright, let me go write this one up, and I'll get you the number for the Chevy valve body, because that's what we'll probably buy for this one. Okay, so AW55-51SN LS kit, which is a kit with clutches, filter, new valve body from GM 2422 8787. My torque converter is a Y51. So we'll get this sold and we'll be back.